My mother never said she had dreams. Not because she didn't have any, but because somewhere along the way, she learned how to fold them neatly and put them away. When people asked her what she did, she would always answer the same way. "I'm just a mom." She said it with a small smile. A simple sentence. But now I realize something. The word, just, was never small. It was heavy. It carried everything she didn't say. I grew up in a house where mornings began before the sun. At 4:27 a.m., her alarm would ring. Not 4:30. 4:27. She once told me she liked having 3 extra minutes. 3 minutes to sit at the edge of the bed. 3 minutes to breathe. 3 minutes where nobody needed her yet. I didn't understand that back then. To me, mornings were annoying. To her, they were survival. I used to pretend I was asleep when she came into my room. She would open the door gently. Stand there for a few seconds. Just watching. Sometimes she adjusted my blanket. Sometimes she brushed my hair away from my forehead. Sometimes she just stood there longer than necessary. Like she was memorizing something. I didn't know what she was memorizing. Now I do. She was memorizing the reason she kept going. She worked 2 jobs. Morning cleaning offices downtown. Evening shifts at a diner near the bus station. Her shoes were always slightly worn at the heels. Her hands were rough. Her nails never had polish. Her back ached constantly. But she never described her life as hard. If anyone asked, she would say, "We're okay." And she meant it. Because okay was enough for her. As long as I was safe. As long as I was studying. As long as I was smiling. Her definition of happiness didn't include herself. When I was 8, something happened that I didn't fully understand. It was a rainy afternoon. The kind where the sky feels too heavy. The power went out. The house fell silent. No TV. No lights. Just the sound of rain hitting metal sheets. I walked toward the kitchen to ask for a snack. That's when I heard it. A melody. Soft at first. Almost uncertain. Like someone speaking after years of silence. I followed the sound slowly. And I saw her. Sitting alone at the wooden table. An old keyboard in front of her. One I had never noticed before. Her fingers moved carefully. Then more confidently. The music grew stronger. It wasn't perfect. But it was alive. And so was she. Her eyes were closed. Her shoulders were relaxed. Her face looked younger. Not physically. But emotionally. Like the weight she carried every day had stepped outside for a moment. I had never seen that version of her before. Not the tired mother. Not the responsible adult. But a girl. A girl who once believed something bigger was possible. I stood there for minutes. Maybe longer. She didn't notice me. She was somewhere else. Somewhere far beyond unpaid bills. Beyond long bus rides. Beyond exhaustion. Then the floor creaked. She opened her eyes. Saw me. And everything changed instantly. Her posture stiffened. The music stopped mid-note. "Oh," she said quickly. "I was just checking if it still works." She unplugged the keyboard. Wiped it with a cloth. Put it inside a cardboard box. Closed the lid. And pushed it under the table. Like it was something fragile. Or dangerous. I never saw it again. Years later, when I was 15, I found out the truth. Not from her. From an old neighbor. She was talented, the neighbor said casually one day. She almost went to the conservatory. I laughed. My mom? Music school? Yes, she nodded. She had a scholarship. A scholarship. The word didn't fit the image I had of my mother. The woman who calculated grocery money down to coins. The woman who wore the same jacket for 5 winters. The woman who said, "We can't afford that," more times than I could count. Scholarship. Talent. Conservatory. Those words felt like they belonged to someone else. That night I searched the closet. Under winter blankets. Inside old suitcases. Between books. And I found it. A yellowed envelope. Her name printed clearly. Congratulations. Admission. Opportunity. A future written in formal ink. The date was the year I was born. The same year my father left. The same year she stopped talking about what she wanted. I sat on the floor holding that letter. And something inside me shifted. All my life I thought she didn't dream. But she did. She just chose differently. She chose responsibility over applause. Security over passion. Me over herself. And she never once made it feel like a loss. When I turned 17, I became ambitious. I wanted everything. Top university. Big career. Recognition. Success. I wanted to be seen. And she supported every step. She worked extra shifts so I could attend extra classes. She learned how to use the internet just to help me research schools. She stayed awake past midnight even when her eyes were red from fatigue. Sometimes I would look at her and think, why does she try so hard? Now I know. Because she knew what it meant to let a dream slip away. And she refused to let mine do the same. One night, I came home late. The house was quiet. Her bedroom door was slightly open. And I heard something I had never heard before. Crying. Not loud. Not dramatic. Controlled. Measured. Like someone who had learned to cry silently. I froze. My mother didn't cry. She endured. She survived. She smiled. But she didn't cry. I stood outside her door for a long time. My hand hovered near the wood. But I didn't knock. Because part of me was afraid. Afraid that if I stepped inside, I would see the cost. The real cost. Of everything she had given up. The next morning, she made breakfast like always. Toast slightly burnt on one side. Eggs a little overcooked. Tea too sweet. She asked about my exams. Reminded me to bring a jacket. Smiled. But her smile trembled for just a second. Barely noticeable. If I hadn't heard her the night before, I wouldn't have seen it. And in that moment, I realized something painful. She had given me every opportunity. But she had quietly buried herself in the process. I went back to the closet that afternoon. Held the acceptance letter again. Read every line. And I asked myself a question that changed everything. What happens to a dream that's folded away for 20 years? Does it disappear? Or does it wait? Quietly. Patiently. Inside someone's chest. Beating. Like a second heart. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept staring at the ceiling. Replaying everything. Her hands on that keyboard. The way she hid it. The acceptance letter. The quiet crying behind a half-open door. All my life, I thought she was strong. But now I realized something different. She wasn't strong because life was easy. She was strong because she never allowed herself to break. Not in front of me. The next week, something unexpected happened. My school announced a small talent showcase. Students could perform anything. Music, poetry, dance. It wasn't a big event. Just a simple stage in the auditorium. But when I saw the announcement, my heart started racing. Not because I wanted to perform, but because of her. That old keyboard. That folded letter. That version of her I saw for just a few minutes in the dark. That evening, I went home earlier than usual. She was in the kitchen. Washing dishes. Water running. Shoulders slightly hunched. "Mom," I said. She turned, smiling automatically. "Yes?" I hesitated. Then I asked the question I had never asked before. "Did you ever want something different?" She laughed softly. "What do you mean?" Before me. Silence. The kind of silence that stretches. The kind that carries years inside it. She dried her hands slowly. Sat down at the table. And for the first time in my life, she didn't rush her answer. "I wanted to teach music," she said quietly. Her voice didn't shake. But it wasn't light either. "I loved the piano. I loved how it made people feel. I thought, maybe I could spend my life doing that." "Why didn't you?" I asked. She looked at me. Not with sadness. Not with regret. Just honesty. Because I chose you. There was no drama in her voice. No blame. No hidden bitterness. Just truth. And I don't regret choosing you, she added quickly. But sometimes. She paused. Sometimes I miss who I was. That sentence hit harder than anything else. Not, I miss music. Not, I miss performing. But, I miss who I was. The next day, I skipped my extra tutoring class. Instead, I went to a secondhand store. I didn't have much money. But I found a small digital keyboard. Not perfect. A few keys slightly worn. But working. I carried it home myself. It felt heavier than it should have. Maybe because it wasn't just an instrument. It was something buried. Something fragile. Something waiting. That night, I placed it on the kitchen table. Exactly where I had seen her years ago. She walked in from work. Exhausted. Stopped when she saw it. "What is this?" she asked. "For you," I said. She laughed nervously. No, I don't have time for that." "You had time before," I replied gently. She froze. Her eyes met mine. And for a moment, I saw fear. Not fear of failure. Fear of hope. Because hope can hurt. Especially when you once had to let it go. "I'm too old," she whispered. "You're not." "I'm rusty." "Then play badly," I said. Silence again. Then slowly, she stepped closer. Touched the keys. Pressed one note. Then another. At first, it sounded uncertain. But muscle memory is powerful. Her fingers remembered. Even if she tried to forget. The melody returned. Soft. Shaky. But real. And this time, she didn't stop when she saw me watching. Weeks passed. She started practicing at night. Just 15 minutes at first. Then 30. Then an hour. Sometimes she would make mistakes and laugh at herself. Sometimes she would close her eyes again. And that peaceful look returned. Not every day. But often enough. Something inside her was waking up. Slowly. Carefully. Like a light turning back on after years in the dark. The day of the school showcase arrived. I signed up without telling her. But not for myself. When they called her name, she looked at me in shock. "What did you do?" she whispered. "I signed you up," I said. She shook her head immediately. "No, I can't." "You can." Her hands trembled. But she walked onto the stage. The auditorium wasn't huge. Maybe a few hundred people. Parents, students, teachers. But to her, it might as well have been 1,000. She sat down at the piano. Took a deep breath. And began. The first notes were careful. Then confident. Then beautiful. The room fell silent. Not polite silence. Real silence. The kind that happens when people feel something. I looked around. Some teachers were leaning forward. Some students had stopped whispering. And my mother wasn't just a mom on that stage. She was a musician. She was a woman with a story in her hands. She was someone who once had a dream. And never truly lost it. When she finished, there was a pause. Just 1 second. Then applause. Loud. Sincere. Long. She covered her mouth with her hand. Like she couldn't believe it. Like she had forgotten what applause felt like. After that night, something changed. Not dramatically. Our house didn't become bigger. Our bills didn't disappear. Life didn't suddenly become perfect. But she stood a little straighter. She smiled differently. Not the small, careful smile. A fuller one. As if a missing piece had been returned. Years later, when I graduated from university, she sat in the front row. Clapping the loudest. And this time, I understood something clearly. Success is not just about chasing your own dreams. It's also about recognizing the ones someone else paused for you. And giving them space to breathe again. My mother once folded her dream and put it away. But dreams don't die easily. They wait. They stay. They survive inside quiet hearts. And sometimes, all they need is someone to hand them back. Before it's too late, ask your mother who she was, not just who she is. Because behind every just a mom, there may be a dream still waiting to be played.